Okay, welcome back. So now we are going to see how to go about importing data. So far what we covered is the basic data structures. As I said, those are like A, B, C, D alphabets. Now we have learned the basic foundation elements. Now we are going to import data from external sources. When we created a PM data frame, we actually created the data frame by typing the values. We created a vector, then cbind them or put them in a data frame and then create it. But many times what will happen is the data that you are going to get is going to come from external source. For example, as a bank, when we open an account, they take KYC information. This KYC information of a customer goes in a customer table. A CRN number is generated, customer relationship number. Which type of account you wish to open, depending upon that, account master, in account master, account number is generated for you, and then you get an account. You get debit card, you start doing transactions. The transactions goes in transaction table. So you are not going to now keep typing those transactions in R to generate that data, right? What you want is some way by which you can directly connect to the database or to the source system. You want some way to connect directly to the source system and be able to import that data in a format in which R can read it, R can process it. And that is called importing of data. When you get data from an external source into our environment, into the environment of the tool on which you are working, that process is called import. Yeah. So here we are going to see how to go about importing data from a comma separated value file format, tab delimited format, fixed width format, Excel, how we can import from SAS dataset, from a database, and so forth. Yeah. Some pre-read which are there. So some of these things, if you can yourself cover, these basically some basic questions. If you are not able to understand, sometimes probably these pre-reads will be of help. Yeah, I'll try to cover them as we discuss the importing process. I have given you three files: lrds1, lrfwf.txt, lrxls. LR is basically logistic regression. Basically, when I started off this first thing, various data sources I imported to show data manipulation, data preparation steps, and finally I get data which can be used for model development. After R programming, the next step is model development. Is that what you're going to learn, right? So LR, actually when I started off, it was logistic regression. That time I was teaching only one technique, logistic regression, and that name is continuing in my files. Okay. So lrds1.csv is a comma separated value file format. Fixed FWF is a fixed width format, and XLS is an Excel file. I hope all of you have these files I have sent to you on email or from on the website. Just check you have those in your machines. Okay, so let us just quickly see lrds1.csv. This is how this file looks like. There is a customer ID, target, age, gender, balance, occupation, number of credit transaction, age bucket. And all of these data is separated by comma. Everyone understand what is a comma separated value file format? Mr. Gopal? Comma separated value file format? Yeah? Understands what is a comma separated value file format? Okay. A CSV file is comma separated value file format is when the values are separated by comma. For example, in this customer ID, the ID given to a customer is customer ID, target is another column, age is another column. This C1 is a ID for a given customer, target value for them that customer is 0 and age is 30. So C1, 0 and 30 are values. What is separating them? Comma. Because comma is separating it, that kind of file we call comma separated value. Yeah? Okay. So first step what we are going to do is we are going to import a comma separated value file format. Let us see what is our current working directory. How do you come to know what is your current working directory? Get WD. So I'll run get WD, control enter. Just check what is your working directory coming. There is some path that you might be having. Yeah. This is your files stored in this path. If your files are stored in this path, okay. If your files are not stored in this path, first step, set the working directory to the path where you have your files stored. In my case, my files are in D:(K2 Analytics data file. So I'll change the path. Only note that here you are going to use /. In Windows, the folder path is given by /. We are not going to use /. We'll replace the // by /. Okay. So I'm going to set the working directory to this path because my file is residing in this folder path. What is the advantage of setting the working directory? The advantage of setting the working directory is you can access the files in that folder and subfolders through a relative path, which means if now I want to access any particular file which is in that folder, I do not have to keep typing D:(K2 Analytics data file completely. I can simply say abc.csv. abc.csv will automatically mean the working directory folder. I'm referring a file in that folder path. That is the advantage of setting a working directory. Okay. So first step, we have done the working directory set. Now I want to import the file. To import a file, the file is in operating system file folder path. I want to import it in R. Yeah. R cannot directly work on a CSV file. R cannot work directly on a CSV file. For R to work on it, it needs the file to be in a format which it can work. And here it is a data frame format. Okay. So we are going to read it. There are multiple ways to read a CSV file. One of the way is to say read.csv. The other is to say read.table. Now when you are reading a CSV file, some parameters are important. Some hygiene parameters are always required. What are the hygiene parameters that are required? Will your R know where is the file? Will your R know which file you want to import without you telling the file name? No. So definitely the import function, you will have to supply the parameter which file you wish to import. Yes. Will the file know whether the file that you are importing, at the top the column names are available? By default it may not know. So you may have to say whether the column names are there in the file or not. The current file that I am importing is a comma separated. How will it know that the separator is comma? It is quite possible the separator can be semicolon also, the separator can be tilde also, the separator can be pipe also, the separator can be question mark also. So I'll have to say what is the separator. I provide all the information to it. If I don't say after importing by what object you should hold that information, what will it do? If I don't say the name of the object by which it should hold that data, what will it do? It will just dump the entire output, display the entire output on the console screen. You're not going to capture anywhere. So if you want to capture that, you have to say by which our object name, our variable name, you want to have the file data stored in it. Okay, these are the basic parameters which any tool would expect when you are importing external data into that tool. When I'm saying any tool, I mean any tool. It is not R specific. Logically, these are the bare minimum which any tool will expect. Yeah. So yeah, separator can be space also. Yeah. So let us see our import command. The first import command that we are going to run is this one. So here what I have done is I've given the full folder path where my file is. Yeah. So let's run this command. dfrm is equal to read.table, and I have to give the full folder path d colon k2 analytics slash data file slash lr underscore ds1 dot csv. Yeah, this is my full folder path. I run it, I get an error. When I run this, I get an error. Why is the error? I need to give the, I have not given the information separator by what, and that's what it is saying. Error in scan, file is equal to file, what equal to what, separator equals separator, and so much. Line should have at least some basic input I should be giving. I have to give it additional information which is separator equal to. So let me give additional information, separator equal to comma. Okay, let me run this code with one additional information, separator equal to comma. Sorry. Now my syntax is looking like this. This is my syntax looking like. dfrm read.table, which file I want to read, separator is equal to comma. I run this, my file is imported. The highlighted part of the syntax is what I have executed now. The folder path has to be your machine folder path, not my machine folder path. Now we have been able to import this file. Let us do head. Head is a command by which we can see initial 6 observations. When I do head, 6 observations of that will get displayed. Okay. The other way you could have done is view. It would open the output this way. Okay. What is the column names of this data frame DFRM that we have named? What are the column names?
Customer ID, target, age, gender, balance, occupation.
Actually, no.
No, it's not column names. It's just one of the variables. It is data only. It's just variables. Names.
The column names is V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, 7, 8. And customer ID, target, age, gender, balance, occupation, number of credit transaction, age bucket is the first row of that data frame. Second row is C1, 0 and so forth. Okay. Why it happened so? Header we have not specified. By default header is false. And my data which I imported has header in the first row. So what I need to do is I need to pass one more parameter. I have to copy paste the above syntax, and now I need to pass one more parameter which is header equal to true, because header is available, not false. I have to say header equal to true. Default is false. And just one best practice. This is the normal layout which I have. When I'm typing my syntax, I should not be typing the syntax like this now. So assume this is the way my normal layout is looking. And then I keep typing, and it keeps scrolling. After a stage, if you feel that the syntax is becoming too big, just press enter. Appropriate places, press enter, indent it. It's easy to read. Okay. So when you run this command, this plus will come automatically. Because the code is in multi-line, at execution point the plus will automatically come. So plus is not you are supposed to type. After having imported, just run dfrm command head. Now you see the column names are appropriately coming. Now you are not having v1, v2, v3 and so forth. Now let us run the class command, class dfrm, and see what is the class of dfrm object. It says data.frame. So when we imported that data from a CSV file into dfrm object, the object that got created is a data frame. As I said, data frame is equivalent to a table in database, data set in SAS. Yeah. If you simply type dfrm, what is dfrm? An object which contains data in row and table, row and column format. Now you are saying dfrm. You are typing the name of the object. It returns, after processing it, it returns something. Is there anyone to catch it? No one is there to catch it. So where it is going to dump the output? On the screen. On the screen it started dumping it, and then it realized, hey, there's so much of content to dump that it does not make to dump the entire content on the screen. So after dumping certain observation, it says that it has reached a get option max print. Okay, what is the max print? Let us just see what is get option max print. Thousand. So it says that I've reached some 1000 prints. After printing that, is ignoring. Yeah. So that is what it is. Okay, let us move forward. We have seen this slide. We have seen this slide. What are the different kinds of separators? As we already saw, I mentioned that the separator can be comma, space itself could have been a separator, pipe, tilde, question mark, caret, tab. Tab is not visible. Tab, there is no character visible, but when you press a tab button, data gets separated by a certain combination of spaces, certain number of spaces. To represent a tab, you cannot press a tab button in your code to represent a tab. To represent a tab in code, you have to use something called escape sequence. Assume your data is tab separated, then you have to say separator equal to double quote backslash t double quote. Backslash t is an escape sequence. What is escape sequence? There are certain special characters which cannot be shown as characters. For example, when you write a statement, you press enter. Then you write a statement and you press enter. Programmatically, if I have to represent that enter, how do I represent that enter? By pressing enter in my code. If I press enter in my code, assume separator is enter. Okay. Assume for the time being, let's assume separator is enter. Then what I would be doing, I'll come here, say separator is equal to double quote, enter, double quote. What will this separator be? Nothing. Programmatically, certain things, if you have to represent them, there are certain combinations, and that combinations are called escape sequence, and those escape sequence are always represented by a backslash and that some character. So if a new line has to be represented, it is backslash n. If a tab has to be represented, it is backslash t. And that is one reason why when you give folder path, you do not say d colon backslash. If you would have used backslash here, what program would have tried to do, it would have said backslash k. It would try to find what is the meaning of backslash k. And there is no escape sequence called backslash k. It will give you error. Okay. If I want to represent backslash, what is the escape sequence? Backslash backslash. If you put two backslash, it will mean one backslash. So if you wanted to continue with the folder structure path which Windows give, and you are not okay with giving forward slash, if I want to run this setwd command with backslash syntax, then follow a escape sequence. This will also set your folder path. Okay. Let's move forward. Now let's understand a fixed width format. What is fixed width format? If your data is given such that each column value occupies certain amount of characters, and if that column value is less than the assigned number of characters, the remaining characters will be filled with empty spaces. Okay, that is called a fixed width format. Let me create a sample fixed width format for you. Let us create a sample fixed width format. Say assume my data is roll number, name, standard. Assume these are the 3 data points. Now I have all the records of each student. Say roll numbers is given as R001 A B C D E F G H I J K standard 1 R. Okay. If the data is such where starting position for this roll number is R 3 times 0 and 1, and it starts from this position and it goes on till here. Okay, probably it goes on till here, I don't know, but assume it goes on till here. Probably there is one more entry. This should come here. The alignment basically let me put this in. Instead of using this, let me put this, let me create it here, a sample fixed width format, or I'll use a new editor here, file new R script, that will be better. The reason why I want to use it, no, because it gives me this numbers. Okay, Word also, yeah. Actually, I should have used text pad, not word pad. Okay. So here what is happening is this roll number is 001, and let me add one more roll number R. Now here if you see the first record, roll number starts here and actually the roll number stops here. This roll number is a shorter value compared to the number of allocated spaces, which is 11 allocated. This is 5th row 11. If you see 11 number here. So if the value is shorter, in that case the remaining things will be filled by empty spaces. Now the name, it has got this much allocated space. So what it means is, what is the starting point? Starting point is from 11th character onwards till this 26th character, it should go in name. And then standard. That is called a fixed width format. Okay, if the value is less, the remaining allocated space will be filled by spaces, empty spaces. The best format to exchange data is a fixed width format. The best format to exchange data is a fixed width format. Okay. The problem with a comma separated file format. Assume this would have been a comma separated file format, and this would be then looking like this. Okay, and assume this is not a name, this is address. And if address itself contain comma, will that comma act as a separator? That comma address, that comma will act as a separator.
The idea, okay. So in address itself there are many commas, okay. But then it will not, we will not get the right data when we.
That comma itself will act as a separator, and you will not be able to. Okay, so that is a problem with the comma separated value file format. How do you overcome that problem in Excel? How do you overcome that problem of a comma separated value? Not in Excel, but in general. Let me open a new file. And explain that also. Say assume this is the data that I have got. Name, address, and this is RJ, and my address is given like B18 something. This is my address. Okay, and then this is ABC. This is shop number 5, comma CHS something. This is the data. I save this data as CSV file. Let me save it on, where's desktop? abc.csv. I want to save it as a CSV file, comma separated value DOS format. I want to save it like this. Do you want to replace it? Yes, there is already a file. Okay, and let me close this file now. Yeah. If you now open that CSV in a notepad, you note that there is double quotes. There is double quotes here. This double quote is called text qualifier. So when you use a comma separated value file format, and if the values itself can contain comma, in that case you have to take an extra precaution that the values are between double quotes. That is we call as text qualification. This is called a text qualification. Now let us corrupt this file. I'm going to remove this double quote. I remove this double quote and I'll close it and then open it in a Excel. Okay. After closing and opening it in Excel, you see that address is now not, second row address is not shown properly because the text qualification has been removed. So this is the problem when you handle a CSV file. That's why if you are taking data in a CSV, ensure it is text qualified. Otherwise the best format for data exchange is fixed width format. Yeah. So let us now quickly see how we can import a fixed width format file. When we import a fixed width format file, we have to specify, again the parameter remains which file to import. The second important parameter is each column is going to have how much number of characters in it. Okay, so here we have to import a file lr_fwf.txt. Let us quickly see the data in this file. This file has got two columns. One is the customer ID and second is score. Here the customer ID starts from this point to this point. The initial 6 characters are for the customer ID. 7th character onwards is basically score. The header need not follow that convention. The convention is for data values. Header is, see, if you see here 4, 5, 6, 7. The header is actually separated by pipe, but values are all fixed width format. Okay. Now just a quick one. Okay. In this data, in this record, what is the customer ID and what is the score value? The given record which I have selected, what is the cust ID and what is the score of that cust ID?
743 is the score and the C1 is the customer ID.
C18257 is the cust ID and 743 is the score. Why? Because what I said, this is a fixed width format. Initial 6 characters are reserved for cust ID. The next 3 characters are reserved for score. So now any record, any line, you have to interpret the first 6 should go to that column, the next 3 should go to this column. If there would have been many such columns, assume here only 2 columns are there, if there are many such, each will have a starting position, ending position, starting position, ending position. So whatever is starting, ending, whatever comes between it, that goes to that corresponding column in a fixed width format. Yeah. So this is the file that we are going to import using a fixed width format, and because I have the first, because I have got the first 6 characters as cust ID, I am saying widths is equal to C, and now the parameters will be for each column. So when I say 6, the first column will have the first 6 characters when the file is read, comma 3. After 6, it will take next 3 score. If there would have been one more column, say, I would say 6, 3, 11, which means the first 6 will go to the first column, the next 3 characters will go to the next column, and then the next 11 characters will go to the third column. So that is how you have to specify the widths. Yeah. Header equal to T. I am saying that in that data header is available. I am saying header equal to T. The separator here is for the header. The separator here is only for the header, and we saw the header was separated by pipe. So I am saying separator is pipe. This separator is not for the values. All the subsequent records after the header, it is not for that. For the records, the widths are mentioned. For header, the separator is mentioned. Okay. So let us run this code and import the file. Yeah, let me close this unwanted things. Okay, wait. Open home. All this. Yeah. Read.fixed width format. Earlier we used the command read.table. Now here we have to use the command read.fwf. One of the question which commonly comes up, how do we know which function to use to import which kind of a file? I also don't know. How do we know which file function to use to import which kind of a file? I also don't know. I know, okay, there is a fixed width format, but the function name is read.fwf or read.fixedwidth format or rfwf. I don't know. No, try and testing. Help. And if I don't even know the function name, how do I get the help also? Because help will help only if you know the function name. That's a limitation of our documentation. But if I don't even know that the function name should start with read.word.
No, like read, if you are trying to import is a common word, but like how fixed with format? Like what is the format? Comma separator.
Okay, so you are saying that logically because we are reading it. Let me ask you a question. Now, after having imported the data, I want to dump all the content of that data frame into a file. What will be the function name?
All that into one particular
File.
So leave that file and copy.
I already read it.
Okay. Okay. Done.
Now I want to dump all the content of that data frame into a file in my hard disk.
So give it an object mode.
No, that is already is in object, no R object. Because you said, see, read is very easy. So the same thing is very easy. I want to dump the entire content to a hard disk. Sorry. What should be the function name?
Give it an object mode. Another secondary object mode. That is my.
It would be write dot something. Yeah, but if I don't know, it is write dot. How will I get the function name? Google. Very simple. If you don't know the function, see, there are so many packages. I'm again, time and again, I'm saying, R has got thousands of packages. For all the packages, all the functions you will not come to know. So the very simple thing is, you know what you want to do. You want to dump the content. Just Google it. It will give some functions. After getting that hint, that is a write dot. Then question. Then go here. Or you'll from Google only you will find some examples of how to go about doing it. Then question it. Because it will otherwise, frankly speaking, it will not be possible to know which function will help. Okay. I'll give you example. I wanted to read. I've got one data which is 200 MB. It's a CSV file. 200 MB data file CSV. I want to read it. And from that data, I want to read only data of 10 days. And that data contains 3 years of data. My objective is only 10 days to be read.
So 10 days how? Last 10 days?
I know the date. I know the date range. So naturally what we would do is read.csv. Read the entire thing. 200 MB data being read. It is occupying good amount of my RAM and it's taking space and time. And then from that I want to filter out only 10 days data. So using some syntax I can filter also. So what I thought is, this is a problem not just me who is facing it. Definitely this problem would be faced by others also. So I just googled how can you filter data at time of reading, and I came across a new function which says read.csv.sql. There is a function which is by name this. Now how can I imagine and come across this function name? In that function it allows you to pass additional parameters by which you can filter data at time of read. So the point is, you may not come to know the function names directly. If you say, okay, this is the function name, you should have an idea of what you want to do. Once you know the idea, just do Google, it will give you a function. And then how do you get help? Okay, then what I did is, the moment I came this csv.sql executed, okay, it says there is no such function, but there is some additional package which it requires. Then I got the package, executed it, done. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. Okay. So here we are now going to import a fixed width format. So I'm giving the file. In last step, I made all of you give the full folder path. We have already set the working directory. If my working directory is, sorry, get working directory. If my working directory is already set, I need not keep copy pasting this element here, provided the file is in the same folder. If my folder is something like this, if my set working directory is something like this, assume I am not setting it to this extent, I set it to this extent only. Now this file is not in that folder. It will not be able to read it. So what do I need to do? No.
Put the entire path over there.
Either you can put the entire path, but what is the fun of having half the path already set? Dot slash. Dot indicates current path, whatever is that. Now take the reference and move forward from there. So I can say dot slash, this is called relative folder path. Okay, so now I can set a relative folder path. I'll header equal to true. For now I'll run only this much part of the syntax. The rest of the options we'll see later. Okay, and just note, I'm pressing enter here and come down here and I'm doing bracket close. Automatically the bracket closure is moving to the start position. The tool has auto indenting. If you follow some indenting rules, the tool will also help you. Okay, so let us import this fixed width format file. I'll run this command. The file is imported. Let me see what is the content. Head, I don't want to see the entire data. I want to just see the initial 6 records. These are my initial 6 records. Yeah, so I imported it. What if I want to see the last 6 records? I already mentioned that for many of the functions like get, there is always a set function. Similarly, for such functions where there is a head, tail, many a times you just see antonym. Probably there would be a function available. So if I want to just see the last 6 records, yeah. So those who have not set the full folder path, give a relative folder path and import the file. Those who have given a full folder path, you don't have to give relative, you can directly give the file name. Just try these syntaxes. Let us now see this syntax in a different way. It's the same read.fixedWidth format. Dot, I'm reading this file. The first parameter remains same. Width is equal to C6,3. That parameter is also same. Header equal to true. Okay, it's same. Separator equal to pipe. Now what I'm saying, call classes. I have introduced a new option, call classes. Why I have introduced it? Let me explain that before. If I see the class of the first column, that was cust ID. Okay, if you see there are 2 columns, cust ID and score. Cust ID in my data is a unique column, which means all row has got different cust IDs. If I see what is the class of that column, the class of that column, how do I access a column of a data frame? Yeah, how do I access that column? How do I refer a column of a data frame? Data frame name dollar column name. If I want to refer, so I can now get a class of this. each column in a data frame is what? A standalone vector is like a vector, but it's part of the data frame. It's not a standalone, but it's a vector. So this is a vector, but of what type? This is a vector of, when I do class, it says factor. When we discussed factor, what did I say? Unique identifier column should not be factor. Because if there are 20,000 observations, a mapping table having 20,000 observations will be created. Is of no use. So to avoid that, what I have to now specifically explicitly say, call classes. This is one way of ensuring that which column is now a character, which column will be integer, which column will be factor. If I would have 10 columns, I could have said call classes is equal to C bracket character, integer, third column is factor, fourth column is integer. In the order of the column, I'll have to give the data types. Yeah. So if I now run this code, and now I'm saying, and there's one more parameter, strings as factors. I can ignore this parameter. If I do not want to pass this parameter, because in this case there are only 2 columns, I could have done away with that part of syntax also. I could have done importing like this also. Strings as factor equal to false. Just because there are 2 columns, it will have the same impact. In this case, cust ID will not be a factor, it is character. The strings as factor parameter says that no column should be converted to factor. If there are character values, let it be character only. Other approach, which is a better approach, you specifically say, because you will not have just 2 columns, there will be say 50 columns. In 50 columns, if 10 columns you want factors, by making strings as factors, you will make all columns as characters, but 10 you want factors. So the other way is you can specify which column you want of what data type. So if I run this syntax also, and sorry, there should not be this comma, there is error. Oh, it did not say error, but that comma should not have been there in the first place. Yeah. Now I again see the class of cust ID character. Yeah. So both the ways are okay. Yeah. So tell.
No, what are we doing is like the first one.
I'm explicitly setting the column classes.
So everything should be, now everything is in character.
No, the first column is character and second column is integer. Here I did not give the call classes option. So automatically, and I did not even say strings as factors equal to false or true. I did not give both of these options. So the default option is strings as factors, which means character columns will be automatically converted factors. But do I want cust ID to be converted as factor? So now what I'm doing, explicitly setting the class using a call classes option. The other way is I could have said strings as factor equal to false, which means auto conversion of character to factor should not be done. Yeah, just try it out.
But this is only for 2 columns.
No. If you would have 10 columns,
For every column.
I could, for each column, I can start providing the data type. In this data, there are only 2 columns.
I understand that part.
Huh.
But the point is like we are trying to save some space over here. Right.
We are not trying just to save some space. See, the current data that you are working on is just 20,000. That's why you are not facing any problem. Tomorrow, you're going to go in industry. You will have data which has got 1 million records. Now you have to import a 1 million records, and that data will have, say, 50 columns. Now you import a 1 million record, 50 columns, and of that there are 10 columns which are of characters. You will import it. You will observe that 2 GB of your memory is gone. Now you want to do some processing and you create some more data frames. All of a sudden you will see out of memory error. Now to ensure that you don't consume so much memory, the columns which should not be converted as should be factors, you want them to be factors, and the columns which you want as character, you want as character. Right? Now how do I explicitly say which column should be character and which column should be factor? To be able to explicitly say which should be character and which should be factor, I have this option, call classes. For all the columns I can now specify in the sequence of the columns, I'll specify the data types.
Okay. So like first is character, second is integer, third should be
depending on what your data is.
Okay. Now I don't want to change that.
You don't want to.
Okay, it is by default it is factors. Okay, I want to set it as factors. So
you want to by default want as factors.
Okay.
Don't give them.
No. I want two should be characters and integers. Third should be factors. Third onwards.
Third onwards is factors. Okay, this is one way. Okay. Now if you don't want all the 50 to be mentioned, okay, because there is an option. There are so many columns. Only the first column you don't want it factor. By default, others you want it to be factors. As is, there is an option. Okay, so and this is what you should be like. This is what you should be inquisitiveness be there. I don't want to do type because there are 50 columns. Typing 50 times is also a painful job. So there is an option which will say further arguments to be passed to read.table. So what it is saying that ... further arguments which are available in read.table are also applicable on read.fwf. Okay, we are seeing the help documentation of read.fwf. So anything which is specific to read.fwf, it is showing here. But something which is common, because read.fwf internally may call read.table. So it is saying that, okay, there are further arguments which are available, can also be used. So I'll go and see here now. What are the other arguments which I can pass? So here, as I said, as is. Okay, now what does this as is says? The default behavior of read.table is to convert character variables which are not converted to logical numerical to factors. This is the default behavior. The variable as is controls the conversion of columns not otherwise specified by call classes. So now what I can say is as.is equal to C, and now I can start specifying the column names. Here I have to specify the column names which I don't want to convert to factor. Okay, so I just don't want to convert the cust ID, not character, column name. So cust ID is a column name. So if assume your data would have been too big and now I want for all of them default to be taken care, but only for the first column I want as is. Otherwise, whatever is the default, it should go. So there are many options. Yeah, so you can try this also. So just try the previous one. Let me delete all of this. Why is this bracket? Yeah, well, just try this one.
When I try to see the class of the cust ID, it's showing null.
Probably you have not been able to import the data properly, or or the column name you're not giving the right column name. That is why it made sure null. So far what we have done is basically importing a CSV file, importing a fixed width file. These two file imports we have seen. Next session what we'll do is we'll see how to import XLSX, how we can connect to database, import data from database, how we can import a SAS datasets. So those are the things that we will cover in our next session. Basically these items which are importing. Then how all these objects that we are creating are actually currently in the memory. How can I store those objects on hard disk? If I can save them into hard disk, how can I then retrieve it from hard disk? And then finally exporting data to a file format system, like from our data format, how can I export a data frame to a CSV file format or XLSX? Okay, so import, export, save, load. All these things are basically part of importing and exporting and data management. Okay, that's what we'll cover in the next session. Thank you.